guys, this is Comic Uno, episode 58, and this is a show where I review all the comics I read this week in one show. And this week I got a lot of comics, 17, which is a good amount, so hopefully you guys are all finished with your San Diego Comic-Con weekends with all that news and you're ready for a batch of new comics. So let's get started. Worst pick of the week to best pick of the week. So number 17 is Harley Quinn, issue 8. And I gotta say, you know, this is a really hard comic to rate because the first half is actually cool, alright? You know, Harley wants to go in a roller derby, she gets kicked out, so now she's going to a Fight Club roller derby. Art's pretty good for this series too. I like the art. Now what screwed up this whole issue is the second part of the issue where literally Harley has bags of shit, throws it for no reason. Random people. That happens in this issue. She throws shit at random people. Staten Island was first, because Staten Island was, you know, has a dump, and she's like, oh my god, I want to throw out Staten Island, which was weird. And then they reference Staten Island in the end, calling the Isles of Staten. So, I don't know if they're trying to hide the fact they're going to Staten Island or not. I don't know. But it's just a very weird ending. And I was like, you know, Harley, she's crazy. We all know she's crazy. She kills people. She's a crazy person. But she's not that she's a different type of crazy. I wouldn't say she's not that crazy. She wouldn't throw shit at people. I just think that was like so idiotic and absurd. It's so stupid, and it really ruined the issue for me, so I gotta give this 2 stars. Even though other parts of it was good, it's just that just ruined it. It's just, no. Yeah, I gave it 2 stars. Worst pick of the week. It was weird. It's weird. Okay. Number 16 is Batman Detective Comics Annual, issue 3. Not a bad issue, but the reason this is so low is because it's an expensive issue, and you don't really need it. Most of the issues, like repeating things that happened already in the Icarus story arc, which I think the Icarus story arc is going on way too long for what it is. And we learn a little bit more about Elena, which I think is the daughter's name, or was the mother's name. But yeah, the main girl that we've been seeing throughout Icarus, we learn a little bit more about her, which is interesting. But her mother hasn't even died yet, so that was a little weird. The mother hasn't died, and so we're telling a past story. But most of it is about this this guy who's working with the head person who owns Icarus, and he forgot his son's birthday, so Batman is like, well, you're gonna get something from that. He's gonna beat up this guy and help the son. And I thought that was a cool story, but again, did it really fit the Icarus story? Did you need an annual for it and pay $5 for it? No. Art was very all over the place. Not saying it was bad art, it's just very inconsistent. You have artwork like this, and then you'll have artwork like this, you know, so very inconsistent artwork. When I was reading it also, it felt like a very jumbled story because I started understanding things like toward the middle of the story. I was like, oh yeah, that guy who worked with the Icarus person knows Elena, you know, and I thought maybe they could have told that story first to kind of tell us that guy worked with the person who had Icarus. So I thought it was a little confusing the way they actually outlined the story. It just felt kind of out of place, like the different stories. And usually, you know, storytelling could do that, but there was no purpose to do that. So a little weird. So that's why I gave it 2 stars. Just price tag. It wasn't a horrible story. Wrong time. Too many books. Too expensive. You don't need it. That's why I gave it 2 stars. Very inconsistent. So yeah, it's a little disappointing. Alright, so now we're up to number 15, which is Batman Eternal. Didn't make worst pick of the week, it's just kind of in the bottom there. So Batman Eternal, yeah, another book that just has so much potential, Batman Eternal, it does, and there's just a lot of issues that are bad, a couple that are good. You know, I'm sticking with it because I'm a big Batman, Bat Family fan, so, you know, I'm going to stick with the book, but this issue just, it felt like 3 different stories, 3 different Bat stories that should be in 3 separate titles. And a good example of this, like Spectre and Batwing, that so should be in Batwing's title. Red Robin, that honestly should be in Future Zen. Red Robin and Harper Row trying to find out about the technology at the nanotechnology connected to Future Zen. That should be in Future Zen. Batman cult. I'm like, I've seen that 1,000 times. He's trying to defeat this cult. It just didn't, it has nothing to do with James Gordon. I guess it has a little bit to do with the corruption of Gotham, but I don't know. It felt so out of place for me. The art was very sketchy. Inconsistent, especially with the facial expressions. Didn't really like it. It's the same kind of blocky art we've been getting with people closing their eyes half the time. So yeah, I gotta give it 2 stars. Hopefully next issue will be better. I keep saying that with Batman Eternal, but hopefully it'll be better. So yeah, I think that's number 15. We're up to number 14 now, which is Future's End, issue 13, where there's a Batman Eternal. Future's End is right across the corner. Another title, you know, this has been consistently bad, this series. Batman Eternal has been a roller coaster. Sometimes it's good, sometimes bad. Future's End has just been consistently boring. And with this issue, I think it was a little bit better than what we've been getting, but nothing like too great. I think the thing is, there's like 1 or 2 stories that interest me, not like, oh my god, I can't believe that happened, interest me, but some that interest me, and then the other story is just boring. C-listers doing nothing and not explaining why I should be interested in them. But let's talk about it. The first story is about Tim Drake, and I do like that story because Tim Drake is lying to his girlfriend about being a Teen Titan, and this guy steals her necklace. So he goes back into action and he gets the necklace back. So I like that story. Mr. Terrific trying to figure out about Batman Beyond is like, can you make Batman Beyond a little bit more interesting in his story, because he's truly not doing anything to make me interested, because he's working with these outlaws. Grifter working with the little girl, which I still don't care about. I actually liked Grifter's story before he started working with the little girl. Trying to get these scientists, and it somehow connects to Earth 2. But then the last story actually interests me semi, where it's Berta trying to make a new identity for herself, but actually probably going to have to go back to a costume, realizing that some of her friends might still be alive. But she ends up falling into a trap with Deathstroke. I'm like, alright, that's pretty good. So, I gave this issue 3 stars. You know, I didn't think it was as bad as what we've been usually getting, but I would say the first part's interesting, then the last part, and everything in between is just like, oh, okay. Okay, cool. Cool, I guess that's cool. You know, again, it's just kind of boring, you know? So yeah, I'll give it 3 stars. Art's pretty consistent, but nothing too special so far. But it was better than what I've been reading. At least there's some couple of stories that are interesting. Alright, so now we're up to number 13, which is Armor Hunter Harbinger, issue 1. Now, I randomly got this. I don't really read that many Valiant books, but I always like reading throughout all the indie books and just all the books that come out to see, you know, descriptions and stuff, should I like it or not. And like I've been saying, I'm a big sucker for teen stories, so this is a teen story of the Valiant universe. And I did not know it connected to a story arc that was already going on. Didn't know Armor Hunter was a story arc, I just thought it was like a title. So it is connecting to another story, and I think that's why it's so low on my list, just because I don't know the Valiant universe as much. So it's mostly about these teenagers having to help people during this whole Armor Hunter war thing going on, and just learning a little bit more about them. You don't really learn much. Again, they're just kind of helping with the war. It's definitely more of a tie-in to that story. Art's pretty good. I cared about the characters, I guess. I think it did a pretty okay job at getting new readers to join into this whole story, but it's not really new reader friendly. I think you'll enjoy this if you're not a new reader and you're following the Armor Hunters, which I'm not. So this is kind of just the wrong book to pick, but it was cool. I gave it 3 stars. It was okay. Alright, so now we're up to number 12, which is The Wake, issue 10. Yeah, the ending's a little disappointing, I'm not gonna lie. It's an okay ending. You know, I think honestly I would like The Wake better if there wasn't this future story. Most of it's honestly saying how people are afraid of the future, and these monsters, these Murs, were symbols of the future to the readers, I guess. And it really showed that. It's like, oh, you shouldn't be afraid of the future, you shouldn't be afraid of adventure. And that's the whole story. And I'm like, oh, but, I mean, I understand, you could do that, you could tell that story, I get it. But, you know, kind of give us an ending to this Mur story. Like, it just felt like they were talking about the theme of the book, but not really the total ending of it. It's like, oh, well, now I'm not afraid, so the Murs aren't going to attack me because they don't see my fear. And you don't really learn how Lee Ward and Archer Lee are connected. I thought they were going to be related, but they kind of weren't. They kind of had a sad way to saying, oh, well, yeah, I miss alive because I can. It was like very plot hole-ish that Lee Archer was still alive. The villains weren't great in the issue. So yeah, it's a little weird. I won't say it's bad. It wasn't a bad issue because, again, it has a cool theme to it. I expected a little more to the wake. I felt the beginning had so much potential, but then it's just a very long miniseries. I think it could have been a little shorter. It could have been a better ending, honestly. This could definitely, like I said with Trillium, it reminds me so much of Trillium because it came out around the same time. Pick this up in a trade when it's cheap. That's all I'll say for the wake. It's worth like, I don't know, $12, I would say, $12 trade. I would say for the wake, it's, you know, it's good. I think it does disappoint by the end, though. So it's a little disappointing. So I'm going to give it 3 stars. So next on the list is number 11, which is another Vertigo book, Bodies, issue 1. I gave this to a whim, Bodies, just because the description sounded interesting. I was like, oh, cool, it's a mystery story. I liked the issue, I did. I liked that we get to see 4 different time periods, like the past, the present, the future, with different characters. Some of them are crazy, some of them are police officers, some of them are detectives, and they're all in different time periods of London. I like that, but the mystery was very lacking. We know these bodies are connected, but they didn't leave clues to how they're really connected to make me interested for the next issue. It felt, I'm like, okay, there's bodies, they're all dead, you know, it happens, they're detectives, they're gonna find dead bodies, but they, you know, they didn't really say, oh, this is connected because of this, I found this note, and everyone finds a note or something. You know, something to make it connected, give me a hook to read the next issue. That didn't really happen with this issue. So the story was kind of lacking, but I loved the artwork for this, because I loved how they did the different styles of artwork. I think it worked really well. Some of the characters are interesting. You know, they could have given us a little bit more. Maybe one less characters, give us more pages for the characters to make it more interesting. But I think they're pretty diverse, which is cool. So yeah, I mean, it's an okay book. It's definitely creative, so I give it 3 stars, but I don't know if I'll get the next issue. If it's a heavy week like this week, I'll probably not get the second issue, but if it's a light week, I'll be like, alright, let's try Bodies in issue 2 to see what this mystery is actually about. Real clue here, they should have had more of the mystery included in the first issue. And I think it's an 8-issue miniseries, so we'll see. I'll see if I'll get issue 2 or not. Alright, so now we're up to number 10, which is Guardians of the Galaxy, issue 17. This book, you know, I feel like it's a little fillerish at the point we're at right now. It's not bad. I like the story. The Guardians are pretty much coming together again. They're all separate for a couple issues, and they have to find Venom. Venom seems like he kind of went evil. I think the Venom actually took over Flash again, so I think that's where the story's going. But I liked it. I liked that Star-Lord's getting away from his father. His father's kingdom's kind of crumbling here. And artwork's a little you know, I think Bradshaw does artwork. Yeah, I'm not a big Bradshaw fan, so we get to see, like, Carol's hair sticking up. And in her comic, it only does that when the helmet goes up, which I think is a better idea than having her hair stick up, like, the whole entire comic. I think it's a really weird hairstyle, even for Carol. So it was a little weird to have that. And then the second artist, I felt was a little sketchy, but it was pretty good. I do like the artwork a little bit more for the second artist, especially with the fight scenes, but like I think it got a little lazy towards the end with some of the faces and some of the styles. It was very artistic in a way, very stylized, so yeah, you know, it was okay issue. Again, it just feels very fillerish, this story arc. It just seems like they're waiting for something, and I was like, what are they waiting for? Like, there's so much they could tell, like, why is Venom and Captain Marvel on the team? How are they coping with being on the team? There's so much more to tell than what they're telling right now. So I gave it 3 stars. It was an okay issue. Nothing bad, but nothing too impressive either. I'm going to lean more towards don't pick it up. I don't really think you have to, but it's an okay issue. Alright, so now we're up to number 9, which is Uncanny Avengers, issue 24. My comic book store did not have Uncanny Avengers, so I had to buy that off Comixology, so I don't have the physical copy with me. But Uncanny Avengers, I've been liking. I think it's a really cool series. I'm not going to say it's, oh my god, I have to get Uncanny Avengers. I think I'm pretty much getting it because it's the only Avengers title I'm getting, and I think it is the best one out there right now for my liking. And I like this. This is a story about really Havoc against Kang. And Havoc does defeat Kang. He's still together with Wasp because it's like this future story. but their daughter dies, pretty much. Her daughter does disappear. We don't know where she is. My question is, are we going to go back to the present time after this? It seems like this is all future timeline, but are we going to go to the present time where, you know, what's going on with the Avengers now? That's a big question because this was a future story arc. I liked it personally. I liked the artwork. I think the battle was a little bit lengthy, but the story itself with King, Havoc, and Wasp was really interesting. Really liked the interaction between Scarlet Witch and Rogue in this issue. Seemed like they actually like each other again, and Rogue was able to not have all those personalities in her head, so they're officially back. But yeah, you know, I'll give it 3.5 stars. I really like the artwork, and I like the direction it's going, and we'll see what the next story arc's about. I liked it overall, though. Alright, now we're up to number 8, which is Hawkeye, issue 19. This was a weird issue to review because this is the sign language issue, and I like the concept of it. I really think it's an interesting concept that, you know, I've never really seen done in comics. And that's what I do like about Hawkeye. They do different type things with the comic book medium. It's going to be upsetting to see this series go, but they don't translate the sign language, and that got me really confused. And I don't know if that was the purpose of the issue not to translate it, like that was the concept. Honestly, it just got me really confused. And I was like, if you translated this could have been a lot better of a comic. That way you could understand what's going on. And it's not like Clint doesn't understand sign language. But I do like the story that he was deaf as a child, and now he became deaf again. And I really like that story. I hope they keep with it. You know, I want to see what they do with that. And now they're going to finally defeat the Bros, hopefully. Get team together. I don't know if they're going to get Kate, because Kate's kind of in the middle of a story arc right now. So I don't know if they're going to bring her over and forget about her story arc. Since this title's ending, I don't know what they're going to do to really finish it. Hopefully it does relaunch. But I love the art. It's a really polarizing comic because, again, I really liked it, but the story could have been a lot better if they just added a couple of words to translate that sign language. It really would have been a lot better. But I like the issue. I still say pick it up because it's a really cool concept. I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. Okay. Number 7 is Super Secret Crisis War, issue 2. A lot better than Super Secret Crisis War, issue 1. Issue 1, I just felt like they just want to have a crossover and they are pulling ideas out of their ass. That's how I felt. With this issue, even though I still feel like they could have done a better crossover than, oh, here's everyone's villains, we want these heroes together. This is fun. I do like that the heroes have to find these robots and the villains actually create robots of the heroes. Thought that was really cool. The interaction between everybody was really cool in this issue. Art's really good. So this is definitely better than that first issue. And I'm looking forward to the rest of the crossover. I think it's an interesting one that IDW is doing. As a big Cartoon Network fan, there's a lot of shows I grew up with that's in the crossover. So I thought it was pretty cool. So pretty cool issue. I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. Now we're up to number 6, which is Sinestro, issue 4. Solid issue. You know, if you want to find a good Green Lantern series, read Sinestro. What I liked about this is probably Sinestro's inner monologue, and also him confronting that he hates Hal in a way, or jealous of Hal. It's definitely the best way to put it. And Hal does end up coming out in the last page. So coming Sinestro to the last page and saying, "Hey, Sinestro, how you doing?" So finally getting to see Hal and Sinestro come together was really cool. So yeah, really cool artwork. I think it's a little misleading, the cover, just because it's like, it seems like it's going to be a Hal and Sinestro issue. It's just a little bit of a Hal issue. Next issue is definitely going to be more Hal and Sinestro. This probably could have been a better cover for the next issue. And also the villains were okay in this issue, but I love what Sinestro is doing here. The artwork works really well. I'm going to give it 4 stars. Really enjoyed it. Again, if you're trying to find a good Green Lantern series, Sinestro's that Green Lantern series. If you're trying to find something similar to Jeff Johns' writing, read Sinestro. Really good series. Can't wait to see where that next issue goes. I thought that was a good cliffhanger. Number 5 is Uncanny X-men, issue 24. Dazzler is on the cover. She's not really a main character. She's very nice new look to herself. I personally do not like it that much, but I miss the Disco Dazzler. I think that's a little bit more of her character than the edgy Dazzler that we're getting right now. Not much Dazzler though, so don't worry, even though she's part of the cover. Most of this issue is about Charles Xavier's will and getting Cyclops and everybody in the same room and finding out that Charles was married to Mystique. So that's the end of the issue, and he might have another dark secret. The way it's worded is a little weird, but Mystique probably was the dark secret, and Mystique might end up getting everything. So really excited about that. But I liked it, you know. A lot of people were complaining with the first issue that why do this now? This feels a little bit more of a fit after Avengers vs. X-Men. And I agree with that, but I like what Bobby says in this issue, where he says, oh yeah, we've just been going through so many emotions, and so many missions that we weren't able to deal with our emotions with Charles Xavier. And I think that's very true with what Bobby said, because yeah, you know, they've been doing so much, they really can't even deal with their emotions. And it makes sense, so I'm happy they kind of dealt with that plot hole in a way. I liked it. This issue, the art's a big improvement from what we've been getting. Here's a big example of that. I think the art style fits really well with this series. So, love the cliffhanger, really solid story, and I'm looking forward to see where Uncanny X-Men goes from here. So I'm going to give this 4 stars. Alright, so number 4 is Outcast, issue 2, Robert Kirkman's new series, and I did give issue 2 another try. Issue 1 was pretty good, hooked me to get me the next issue, and I really enjoyed this. We learned a little bit more about our main character, and a little bit more about his mother, why he was abusive to his wife, which we knew from the first issue kind of didn't happen. It had to do with these demons, and I like that the guy, our main character, is getting closer to his brother-in-law, because they both, you know, love the sister. Sister's done a lot for both of them, and the brother-in-law, you know, trying to learn a little bit more about this guy, our main character. So there's a lot of emotional beats here that I think they do really well. They're setting up for a great story, learning more about these demons, about the priest that he's going to probably have some partnership with. I really like the issue. The artwork fits perfectly for this series. Again, I just love the emotion set into this book. I have to give it 4 stars. Really enjoyed the book, and can't wait to see more. And I think this could be a book, as you learn more about the characters, you could really start to enjoy. So I recommend Outcast, but it might be a trade book, honestly. So I'm going to say this top 3 was super hard, because I really loved all 3 of these books. And I remember I just kept switching grades and placements of the list. And I came up with a final list for this, because I loved all 3 of these issues. Easily could have been on my pick of the week. But number 3 is Justice League, issue 32. Epic issue. I love what Jeff Johns has been doing with this, and what Jeff Johns could do with C-list characters, which I wish they would do with Future's End. Give us C-list characters, fine, but make them interesting. And they did that with Doom Patrol. I've never cared about Doom Patrol. I don't really know much about Doom Patrol, but they made them really interesting with this. With like 2 pages, I was totally interested in every character. Their leader, Chief. Why the hell does he want to defeat Power Ring? And what's his motive? And then how does Lex Luthor know Chief? So there's just so many interesting things here that they balance. And one of my favorite things of this issue, besides the Doom Patrol, was the first 2 pages with Superwoman, where she sings this nursery rhyme, and it's so haunting when you're reading it, because you know it's coming from Superwoman, just holding her stomach, and it's just like, oh, we're going to get some good story arc with Superwoman. Hopefully that much needed origin story. I'm very excited about that. So having Superwoman in the beginning, really utilizing Power Ring really well, not forgetting about her story arc, but also having the Justice League. I think that's one disappointment. If you want a lot of Justice League in this issue, you're not getting that. You're getting other stories related to the Justice League. But I love this issue. Great artwork. So close to being my pick of the week. So I'm going to give it 4.5 stars. Can't wait to see where Justice League goes. Number 2 is Smallville Special, issue 2. Another great book that was so easily could have been my pick of the week, maybe in another week. Smallville Special, if you miss Zatanna of the pre-New 52, read this. If you want to see Constantine and Zatanna, the pre-New 52, read this, because I know, you know, they're a couple or whatever they are in Justly Dark. They have a good friendship, whatever they're doing there. So I know they have a good relationship. But seeing them interact in, you know, of course, Zatanna's different form, because Zatanna is very different than New 52. It's really cool. I love seeing old school Zatanna with this Smallville universe going on that Brian Q. Miller has been building up so well. And there's this interesting twist by the end. So we get to see Constantine and Zatanna, they're teaming up, and they have to team up to defeat Trigon. And to resurrect Trigon, they have to kill this girl. And we find out by the end, this girl is no ordinary girl. She joins the Titans because she has some sort of powers, and her name is Raven. She's Raven. And I was like, whoa, you just gave a really cool twist. So it feels like, you know, Once Upon a Time of DC Universe, giving cool twists to characters we already know, and, you know, having the hoodie over her, you know, bringing in Titan zings. I think the Titans have such a great Young Justice, Teen Titans pre-New 52 feel to it. So love the issue. I think the interaction between Constantine and Zatanna, that twist with Raven, was great. Loved it. I think it was definitely worth your, I think it's $4.99. It's worth the annual price, and it's extra pages too. So if you're looking for a great story, great pre-New 52 story, read Smallville Special issue 5. Great story. So that was number 2. Number 1 is Grimm Tales of Terror, Issue 1, a Zenescope book. Now, why did this beat everything else? Like I said, those top 3 books were wonderful. Love them all. The structure for this book was so great. I loved it. And I think that's really what brought it to the top. Now, the beginning of this book is with this random redhead woman, and she finds someone named Richard, pretending that she knows him. And they kind of do know each other because they're connected in this magical way. Because they both can see vampires and werewolves. And she tells a story, a kind of a legend about this woman who was a wife to this man who became a werewolf, and she tries murdering him, and she goes into this psych ward and tells the story, and no one's believing her. And I'm not going to spoil the ending, but no one ends up believing her. And that's just a fable. And I love the way they transition between both those stories. I thought it was perfectly done. The art was great. It was something different, and I love the tone to the book. It was so horrifying, and it felt great, this book. So I love the issue. Can't wait to read more. I hope it's an ongoing series. I gave it 5 stars. Great book. But again, that top 3, I loved all 3 of those books, and there are some great books this week. Of course, there's some weird books, but it's a really great mixture this week. So please tell me in the comments below what you thought was your pick of the week, worst pick of the week. What do you think about all the books this week? Don't forget to follow me on Twitter for Comic Uno and the Rant Situations, and don't forget to like my Facebook page. And of course, I'll have a Comic Uno episode next week, and this is Comic Uno and Comic Frontline, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.